I'm Dan,
And I'm Dan.
and
And
this
this
is
is
Dan
Dan
Squared.
Squared.
I'm Dan,
And I'm Dan.
and
And
this
this
is
is
Dan
Dan
Squared.
Squared.
All right.
It's like extremely hard to sync up over uh, this system, but we're trying to figure it out. Trying this whole new um, distance podcasting thing. So
We're doing our best. We're doing our best.
how you
Um,
doing, bud?
I'm doing well. Welcome back, everybody. This is a new venture for us. We hope you enjoyed our first podcast, in where we just droned
Rambled.
on forever. But now that we sort of have an idea of how things roll with the Dan Squared show, I have figured out a solution to our ramblings, and that involves this handy dandy timer. So what is going to happen is I'm going to time each of our discussion topics, and we're going to go from there. Yeah. On Sunday morning, you will likely have already seen Dan's predictions and analysis of the game that is at the moment upcoming, but by the time you hear and listen to this or watch this, it will be it will have already happened. So hopefully the 28-21 prediction.
I hope it doesn't come true.
Yeah, well then he's gonna, hopefully the 28-21 prediction will come true, and then it'll be like the Patriots blew out the Falcons by X amount.
No, I don't want that at all.
I know. I don't either. I want it to be a good game. I want it to be a fun game. Usually,
Yeah, because last year was bad. Last year was really slow and really painful to watch, and the Panthers were playing like garbage.
yeah,
And the year before, that was a really good game. Patriots-Seahawks was really good.
Mhm.
Came down to, obviously, the final moment where Pete Carroll decided not to run Marshawn Lynch from the 1-yard line. You have one of the best running backs in the history of the game. He's like 10th in all-time postseason rushing touchdowns. You don't run him!
yep. Yep.
And then the year before that, Seahawks Broncos was terrible. That game was over in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But let's talk general Super Bowl
Yeah.
as like a concept, right?
Yeah, as a concept.
And-
We can also talk about past games as well.
Yeah.
We can talk about what we think might happen this upcoming thing, because in addition to Lady Gaga's halftime show, the Schuyler sisters from Hamilton are singing the national anthem.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
Well, the Super Bowl is unique in that if you look at the ratings for most watched television events over the last couple of years, every time you will see the top 10 things over the last 40, 50 years, they're always either Super Bowls, and then one slot there, I read this the other day, is the series finale of MASH.
Right.
That's the one thing in the top 10 that isn't a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So it's the biggest event. Personally, I think we should have a national holiday the day after the Super Bowl, because it's always played on a Sunday. It's always played at night, and the next morning people are like, "Why am I at work right now?"
Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
The first
Super
time,
Bowl-
the first time I think I ever stayed up to watch a Super Bowl was Giants Patriots in 2008.
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
that was a game for the ages.
Oh
too.
my God, that might have been people argue that's one of the best Super Bowls of all time.
I would say it's up there. I don't know.
Okay, so context is important for that one, because the Patriots were obviously trying to have an undefeated season.
Yeah, and I think it was it was either their third or fourth time at the Super Bowl, so they were trying to go for a specific number.
Yeah, it was their fourth time in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They had won in the early 2000s, but the Giants were a wild card team that year.
Yeah.
They won 3 straight road games to get to the Super Bowl in dramatic fashion,
Mhm.
and everyone wrote them off in the Super Bowl. And the miracle, you see the play all the time. You see that helmet catch by David Tyree
Yep.
as he's falling, and it's just, I still relive that moment
It's
so many times. It makes me so happy.
It is one of the most unreal moments in New York sports history, in Super Bowl history, in NFL history.
Like, Eli Manning's a doofy guy.
Yeah.
Like, he just looks kind of silly. But the fact, it makes me so happy that, like, he's the only one who has beaten Tom Brady in a Super Bowl to this day.
Twice, right? He did it twice.
He beat him twice. And that's Brady's only 2 losses in the Super Bowl, because otherwise he won those 3 in the early 2000s, and then he beat the Seahawks because of that play that I mentioned.
Yeah.
Where Marshawn Lynch doesn't rush.
Yeah.
So the Super Bowl is unique in the sense that it's one of the biggest. So, football, baseball are the 2 biggest sports in American culture.
Yeah.
So football, there's this build up to this big game, and there's every promotion's based on the big game because it's just one game.
Yeah.
For baseball, you have the World Series, and if you have a Game 7, that's the ideal for the MLB because everyone's going to be tuning in.
Right.
The Super Bowl is one game to decide it all on a neutral field because actually I don't think there's been a host. So they picked the host city well before the Super Bowl's actually played. I don't think the team representing that city has been in the Super Bowl ever.
Yeah, that'd be really, yeah.
Because up until the New York Super Bowl, which was Broncos Seahawks, they did not do them in cold weather areas.
Sure.
It was all, Miami, SoCal, Texas, places like that. Because they wanted
neutral, warm, like...
Because played in the winter, you want to make the conditions as neutral as possible.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's... I mean, it's really smart on their part, but it is unfortunate. Because, like, imagine if Houston had gone the whole way and made it to the Super Bowl. That would be great, but do they deliberately...
Houston this year lucked into their first-round matchup because arguable MVP of the league, Derek Carr of the Raiders, went down with a horrible injury in Week 16, and all of a sudden that was not a game anymore, and there were really no contenders in the AFC to take on the Patriots. None. Like, the Steelers were the only ones who could do it, and they lost their running back in the first quarter. In the NFC, a lot of teams could have made it. Packers had a really good run, and then the Falcons destroyed them. And they also destroyed the Seahawks.
Yeah.
But the Super Bowl, like, just to bring it back, in terms of entertainment, it's relatively unmatched because it's also one of the, as a performer, if you make the Super Bowl halftime show, like, you've made it. You're established. You are one of the top billed acts in the country, in the world.
Unless you're Justin Timberlake.
He was top billing at that point, though.
I know he was, but he was never brought back even after, like, I mean, he didn't even do Future Sex Love Sounds. He didn't do 2020 Experience Part 1 and 2.
Yeah, but everyone knows Nipplegate.
I know, yeah. Is he like
is he
permanently banned from the Super Bowl?
I don't think he's banned. I just don't think they're aiming in that direction anymore.
Oh.
So since around 2006, 2007, like they're just now getting back into the pop artists at the Super Bowl, but they were oriented way more towards like rock type artists.
They were,
right?
Yes.
So like classic rock, classic acts that feel nostalgic because a lot of the football fans are like
older,
trending a bit older nowadays, just like baseball.
Yeah.
So you want to bring back that nostalgia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have things. It started off like 1990. I was reading an article about this, but 1993, the Super Bowl halftime show wasn't like this big performance opportunity for people until 93 when it was Michael Jackson. And there were pyrotechnics, and it was a crazy show, and people were like, wow, this is...
Yeah, I think that's because, like, Michael Jackson redefined the stadium show for most recording artists anyway.
But that was the venue to do it at the biggest sporting event of the year.
Yeah. So, like,
it's just no one took advantage of that fact.
He did set the standard for, like, performance, or performance in the Super Bowl and performance on a stadium level. I think the only other like couple of bands and performers that have matched that include Prince, U2, and Beyonce.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's run through
I think
the recent list of performers at the halftime show. personally, I think Lady Gaga fits right into this aesthetic.
Yeah.
She needs to be given this huge platform to perform like this.
Yes.
Katy Perry too, like, on board.
Katy Perry was Katy Perry was great. I
disagree entirely with the choice of Coldplay, because I know you like Coldplay, and everyone who knows me knows I don't like Coldplay.
Yes.
But I also think that whether or not you like them, this is not the venue for them.
Right. And I actually
They're too esoteric.
they're too mellow for a Super Bowl.
It's a hype sporting event. You have Prince, you have Rolling Stones, you have Red Hot Chili Peppers and Bruno Mars, Beyonce. You have people that like have
Know how to work a crowd.
dominant, yeah, exactly, dominant stage presence, who take this opportunity to perform at one of the biggest shows ever.
Yeah.
And you put in Coldplay, and they do like this message of acceptance. Like, football fans, like, it's a nice thought and all, but football fans don't want to see that. They don't want to hear that. They don't care.
That brings up the point. Like, do you think Lady Gaga is gonna do that tomorrow? I
think that she would, if she did it, she would do it better, because that's part of her act regardless. Coldplay is not tailored towards a stadium show.
Right.
So, yeah, I know they sell out stadiums, but it's just people swaying in their seats,
Lighters up.
singing along singing along with clocks and just holding hands.
How many songs do you think from Joanne she's gonna do, her most recent album? Like,
not many.
What?
She's gonna do
like
whatever is the biggest hit,
yeah,
and then she's gonna focus on the Gaga classics.
I think she'll do like Just Dance, Born This Way, Applause, and Million Reasons, which is her
Bad Romance.
You think Bad Romance?
Of course.
I think Just Dance, because Just Dance is like a hype song, and it's like,
she just has so many great songs to get people riled up,
Yeah. Yeah.
I like, not even a closet fan here, but I think she has all the tools to just get people going, and there's probably going to be some bonus performance. They haven't announced who it is, but there's always some surprise,
Yeah.
I'm
surprised that they haven't like mentioned it yet, because normally at this point we know.
But Lady Gaga is unique in the sense that she definitely doesn't need a side act.
Right.
Bruno Mars, he's energetic and whatnot, but I think having the Chili Peppers in there, even if it was for as brief a period as it was, I think that really spiced things up and appealed to a wider audience.
Yes, I also thought it was very random. I thought
Yeah.
if they had incorporated the Chili Peppers in a better way, and I think honestly the Chili Peppers only took it because it was Bruno Mars and it was the biggest gig on earth. Because I don't think they would have wanted to do. Was it in a cold locale when Bruno Mars played? Because if it was, they probably didn't play live. Because they said they didn't play live.
Yeah.
So,
and also they only played one song.
Right.
They only did Give It Away.
Yeah. Which I was like, they're not gonna play like any of their other biggest hits.
There's so many good ones that they can be used to hype people up, but they didn't want to overshadow Bruno Mars.
No, and I don't think it's hard to overshadow Bruno Mars.
Yeah, they know that they're not upper echelon anymore.
No.
I think the people's tastes have changed in direction where the Chili Peppers will always have their faithful fans, but you want the people, you want the top billing, you want the Beyoncés who just, she sent a message to the crowd with the costume choices, the specific dance moves, things like that, but she is at the level of superstardom where she can do that without sacrificing the performance element. Coldplay was just too many rainbows and, swaying.
Well, it's funny because then Coldplay relied on both Beyonce and Bruno Mars to up the game of the performance.
Yeah.
It was I was just okay, I don't understand, but okay.
I mean, Super Bowl as an entertainment, it also depends on how people are feeling about the game.
Mm-hmm.
Because by the time it was the end of the first half in Seahawks-Broncos, I don't think too many people cared.
Yeah.
And
well, it's very interesting as you say that, because I just watched. Did you watch the Film Theory about the Super Bowl ad stuff?
Yeah.
I love that it's prime advertising time is second quarter. So I'm curious to see like if the teaser trailer for Stranger Things season 2 is going to show up during the second quarter, or if like the big movie tentpole summer films for this year are going to show up during the second quarter. Generally, I think like the Crash the Super Bowl thing that Doritos does has a frequency of showing up during the second quarter. So it's like,
yeah, Doritos always wins. Budweiser wins a lot.
Yeah, that second quarter halftime period is the prime spot for people for buying ad space.
And they know that the people watching these commercials are generally the people that are paying less attention to the game.
Yes.
Right? So the commercials, to me, as it's progressed throughout the years, I really enjoyed watching them when I was a bit younger because I didn't know as much about the game.
Right.
But as I've learned more about actual football, I'm like, just bring the game back, and I pay less attention to the commercials. But it feels like, as a general trend, the commercials have gotten more ridiculous and less clever.
Yes. I think, well, they've gotten more ridiculous, more inspirational, more like I think they're well aware of the audience that grew up with the commercials. So they're like, okay, we need to like, and because their audience is growing up, we got to be like, okay, we got to latch on to them with like either extreme ridiculousness or we got to make them cry.
Oh, Budweiser is doing a commercial. We already know this. They already have it out. But they're
German immigrant.
They're talking about German immigrants. And they made that commercial long before, but with everything that's been going on nowadays, it's especially topical, so they're going to score a lot of points with that.
Yeah. I feel that very much so. I think, you know what? I think they did it in spite of it, like because of what happened over the course of this year. They were definitely already planning to do it because it was like, regardless, they're going to make a statement. It's going to be either positive in supporting. It's going to be positive in supporting the intended message, and negative towards the opposing thoughts of the massage.
Get it out.
Massage.
There you go. All right, what's our topic timer looking like?
Our topic timer is I turned it off because I didn't want it to go off during our discussions of commercials and halftime shows. But really quick, our time is running out on this subject. Very quickly, I do want to bring up the fact that it is fortunately and unfortunately the 10th anniversary of Prince's performance at the Super Bowl halftime show. Which is especially poignant since his passing this past year. Because that was actually my first exposure to Prince.
Oh, really?
That was the first time I had ever heard of him, and I had ever heard any of his music.
I think I knew him first as the artist formerly known as Prince, because I've always like kind of latched onto these pop culture things.
Yeah.
But when I heard he was playing, I was just kind of like, do I know any Prince songs at all?
Yeah, and then I was like, no. And then he puts on one of the greatest spectacle shows on the face of planet Earth, which is typical for Prince, which I didn't know at the time. But the fact that he did that, and then like there was like a whole behind the scenes thing about like he was considering not doing it because it was pouring outside.
I mean,
and he did
The
it
Who
regardless.
put on an amazing show too.
Yeah, The Who did put on a great show. A lot of the rock acts of the past like 10 years that have gone up there have normally done a very great show, barring Coldplay.
I mean, Tom Petty was also like kind of lukewarm for me because I'm not the biggest fan of Tom Petty.
Right.
But I still thought it was more appropriate to have him than Coldplay.
Yeah. And Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
That's good. And I didn't even know, I had no idea. It was only after the fact when I found out about U2 as a band that they had done the Super Bowl halftime show. So I was just like, where are they? Why aren't they doing the halftime show? And I did not know that they had put on one of the biggest spectacle halftime shows of all time.
They're so appropriate for it, though.
Yeah, they are.
They're a stadium rock band.
They are a stadium rock band. Man, so good.
All right. So,
believe it or not, that segues into our next topic. Because
let's take a break.
Oh yeah.
And Because this recording right now is at 1.5 gigs, and I want to not make it any bigger than that.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's take a break. Let's reconvene with our next topic, which is
In the context of classic rock and classic rock artists, what constitutes classic music? What constitutes being a classic rock artist, being a classic pop musician, and classical music in general? Because when we think of classical music, we have a very specific idea in mind. And with like things like Super Bowl halftime shows and people and artists putting out more content and signing for gigs and huge gigs and bigger gigs, we have to rethink our notions of what classical music is, which is really fascinating. So
we'll tackle that after a quick break.
we'll tackle that after the break.